happy to call some of the leaders and from a different perspectives in this market. Please welcome, one by one, Uros Mijatovic, the CEO of Mitto, the CPaaS provider. Hello, Uros. Lovely to have you. Please try and find your pictures. There you are. And next, Vivek Manglik, the SVP and business head of Airtel. Thanks to have you. The perspective for mobile operators as well, and Airtel here. And Manoj Kumar, the threat intelligence managers at Enea, the provider of security services and firewalls. Great to have you here. One more of these different perspectives. And we do have Deshbandhu, Bansal, the CEO of Comviva, familiar faces to our events in MEF as well. And finally, playing home as well, Murthy Munyappa, the Chief Innovation Officer at GTS Tech Labs. Lovely to have you. So thank you. A worthy topic, one that at MEF we spend an entire day. We have a conference in September, 8 hours. So the challenge for you is consume 8 hours of content in about 40 minutes. But let's start from the very beginning for some of the people that might be here from a different perspective as well. In India, where are we in this fight with fraud? And let's start from the closest persons, I think, here to the consumers is probably Vivek. At Airtel, how would you define today fraud in messaging for this market? And let's see, microphone surprises, some of them work. Oh, you got it. There we go.
Thank you, Dario. I think we talked about many numbers in the previous morning sessions, that 1.3 billion population, digital adoption, mobile first economy, and that is all great. And it brings the problem statement for us is that the fraud is actually significantly growing. And when it comes to India, if I have to kind of put some numbers to the perspective and some of the research on that, in the first half of 2024, Indians lost about $1.3 billion, which is $7 million a day. That is the potential kind of fraud which we are looking, potentially the fraud, and it's growing. So on the one hand of the spectrum, the economy is growing, the digital adoption is there, the business engagement is there, but it brings a very, very important problem to solve with the kind of revenues with the kind of money which we are losing on the Indian landscape.
I'm still squinting at the $1.3 billion. That's a scary number. Let's talk to somebody that might have more numbers, and I'm talking to Manoj. I mean, at Enea, you might have a lot of numbers, I should probably say. But if you were to summarizing the threat from the firewall point of view, what would that be?
Good afternoon, everyone. So this is my first appearance on stage.
Welcome.
Okay. So when we talk about being a networking side, being the defense side of the system, we know that we already got enough tools like AI and all the traditional proven methods to defend against attacks, right? So we're forgetting the fact that not only the defending side, also the attacking side also has the ability and got the potential, the tools, accessibility and all. So based on my experience, working on different region, on different operators, what I see is that, so any defense mechanisms you implement, always the spammers always trying to, break the defense. They come up with the different methodologies. They always trying to, I have seen that they're doing the penetration testing on the network to to break the defense. And so it's just a cat and mouse game. We don't ask me who are the cat and who are the mouse here. So we come up with the defense mechanisms. We found some leakages. We come up with the different mechanisms to counter. The spammers also come with their counter mechanisms. And for that, we're gonna again, it's a cat and rat games. when talk about the global trend, spam trend, for example, chatbot-based conversational scams, where the spammers keep engage the end users by sending the conversational messages. It will start with hi, how are you doing, are you still situated in Gurgaon, like that, and they will try to extract the personal sensitive information as much as possible. And we also nowadays the trend of snowshoe attacks. It's very very interesting attacks where spammers doesn't follow any pattern. They keep on changing the senders, so they keep on changing tactics of content, and they don't let us to identify the normal behavior. So on. And there is one more intelligent attack. What I've seen recently is that what spammer is doing, they're utilizing the known brand domain names like a google.com or a known cloud security, cloud data service providers domains, and they're utilizing that messages, domain in the content to bypass the filters. So coming to the Indian market, coming to the Indian market, we're going to see the same kind of attacks, but with the localized form, localized languages, or with the local brands in it. And to tackle that kind of strategies, along with the regulations, we should be having the proper defense mechanisms. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's a real financial threat in there. We heard that from Vivek. There's also, as you mentioned, a continuous fight. Multiple things. Spam is still there. So we've got multiple things. I'm going to involve now Comviva and Mitto. Both of you, I suspect, closest to the enterprise, the other side. Uros, if I can say, is there something else that you could point it out from the enterprise side? Well, are they also suffering from the messaging fraud?
Absolutely.
You got a microphone potentially? Yes, it's coming. Yes.
Okay, it's on. So absolutely, I'm in very close touch with many of enterprises, specifically from North America, from Europe. The good thing is, speaking about India, I don't see much of AIT or any at all that they're playing there.
We heard it before, the artificial inflation of traffic.
Yes,
right?
AIT, artificial inflation of traffic. That's something specific road I can talk more about. I'm more involved even myself operationally about detecting, about educating customers about it. So hyperscalers in specific are very well aware of it. And by today, it's very hard for any bad players out there to generate traffic on them. Simply, they won't pay. The money flow is stopped. Many people within the delivery chain are in a big problems. So when you're cutting the reward, which is monetary reward, you're basically stopping that fraud. So now the fraudsters are moving down the value chain, down the stack, attacking more small and medium-sized businesses. Okay. So it's evolving in the nature. Also, it's evolving in seasonality. So Q4 was what we were detecting huge in the attacks to the enterprises, whereas Q1 was very, very low on that side. So it kind of follows that seasonality where some companies may be short in cash and they need to generate some things, or maybe they need to meet some commitments. So it's very much evolving also throughout the year as it evolves into all the nature of it. So long story short, enterprises are aware. They want to do everything they can to reduce it. Some of them are investing more, however, it's not their core business. So they will rely on companies like us to help them educate them how it can be prevented. And the thing is also all of them want a silver bullet, which doesn't exist. Because it's different if you're looking at a fraudulent message, which is spam, which is phishing. You can inspect a single message and you can tell this is good message, this is bad message. When you look at artificially inflated traffic message, it is a regular message as any other. So you cannot do that as granular as on a message level, but you need to follow the patterns. So that's where there's a different layers of the onion, how to say, that should be done to mitigate it, but it cannot be fully prevented. And that's something, again, our position is to educate enterprise, but also to work with other players in the industry, how we can all help preserve the SMS from cutting down the branch basically we are sitting in by having bad players generating so much traffic.
So we heard that AIT, good news, some of the hyperscaler less impacted. the lower termination price impact. However, it's still there. And I was going to ask you if fraudsters go to on a holiday on Q1. You do tell us it's probably an end of year financial reasons why we've seen in seasonality. But is it from Comviva, Desh? What else would you ask for the enterprises as well? Is Visa a transparent channel in India?
So I think just to take a step back.
Maybe
first,
microphone.
Can you? Yeah, it's working. Can you hear me? Yep. So just to take a step back, right? When we are talking about fraud in the messaging space, there are, let's say, 4 broad categories that I look at: grey route, AIT, spam, and smishing. And depending on who you keep at the center and who the fraud is happening to, all these 4 categories, right? So AIT is a fraud to the enterprise, right? Smishing is to the consumer who is getting the message. So depending on who you keep at the center and who is responsible for preventing this fraud. So if telco, which is responsible for preventing the fraud and is primarily interested in the fraud which is happening to it, which is the grey route, which is, they don't want the bypass of the money of the messages which are flowing through their network. And that is where I think the big challenge that we are seeing today, which is in terms of the willingness to invest in blocking the other areas which are beyond the grey route. Maybe that awareness is coming, and there are some pioneers like Airtel and Etisalat in UAE. Some of those telcos are really focused on that as a key area. But what we see is beyond grey route, the investment on blocking the other kind of fraud is limited, is not as aggressive.
Well, thank you. So you're right. There is a lot more happening there, and how you define it. Thanks for mentioning smishing, SMS phishing, which has been so central in so many of our discussions. But things might be changing. Murthy, I want to bring your expertise here as well in our discussions. Is this a stable threat? We talk about things that existed for a lot of time, but is something coming to change things dramatically in this market?
Okay. Actually, the frauds, it's a serious worrisome, not only for the operators and the country and the people as well. The reason is that while the government wants to cover maximum number of people with the connectivity, with the mobile, while it's a good thing, but at the same time, a fraudulent entity or a frauds person, it is a market acquisition for him to spread or capture the market from their perspective. As we know, as we speak, BharatNet, where the government is planning to, connect the internet or the mobile connectivity, every rural place. While it's good for the country, from the GDP point of view, business point of view, but at the same time, it's a fantastic opportunity for a fraud people. It's even more important for a country like ours because literacy is relatively low, especially in rural area. Digital knowledge is low. And then a concern is that with the more and more frauds coming up because of the technology, it's a serious issue for the government and every individual and the operator as well, that how do we protect the hard-earned money of all these rural people, right? So in that sense, being a technologist, the tech lab, we not only try to address the business part of it, but senior people like us, what we have in our company, we have to look forward beyond 5 years and 10 years, and then how do we address this serious responsibility? Because government, especially the fraudulent people, are so smart. They take the advantage of technology even before the government recognizes and comes with the policies, right? Between that time is enough for some fraudulent people to make billions out of it, and then you lose the hard-earned money of many people, right? One or the other way. So it becomes responsibility of a technology houses like ours and the operator as well. How do we protect that? Is a serious responsibility. Now, in that, we are anticipating, there is going to be lots and lots of fraud. Fraud is going to become another probably buzzword with the telecom going forward, because telecom being the center stage for all kinds of communication, whether it is for a transaction, whether it's for authentication. So it's going to be very serious, and all of us need to be concerned about technology houses, operators, and governments as well.
Let me ask
you just one fact I want to add. What Vivek added, $1.3 billion. Yeah. There's another fact which says that $1,200 and above banking transaction last year, there was a 4x increase in those frauds for $1,200 and above transaction which are happening. So that goes to show in terms of the
Absolutely.
impact it is creating and the seriousness of the issue.
And we're hearing that there is a great technology leap with AI. Now, is the leap going to be done by the fraudsters or by our defenses? I'm going to ask Manoj, but I'll come back to Murthy as well. Both of your solutions. Manoj, are you using any AI right now to monitoring the traffic? Or are you afraid that fraudsters are using it too?
Yeah. Yes, we are actually using AI tools in multiple levels, from the identifying the behaviors and the content patterns, and detecting the classification of images on real time, analyzing the attachments in real time, and so on. So even as I mentioned earlier, spammers are always evolving. Whatever the measures you bring, they also bring the countermeasures, and no defense is going to be 100% accurate. Then it's going to cover all the anticipated possible attacks in the network. So as I told you, the spammers also started explore the AI tools. They also do the pen test on the firewalls to understand the how the behavior of how the actual behavior is being captured through the firewalls. I have seen that they're doing, and along with based on my experience on the traffic of different reasons, we got. What I feel is that along with the AI, definitely it's going to be a future. It is a current. It's not no more dream anyway. The tool we have in our hand, along with the AI tool, which works, which is driven based on it's input-driven solution. Though we anticipate like it's going to catch everything, all the possibilities, but still it has its own limitation. So what we are doing at Enea is that along with the AI as the core, we are also using the traditional methods, what is already proven, because when we pick any solution, it is a trade-off between the false positive and false negatives. Okay, I can't go and say, I can't put a standard rule set for any matters, any cybersecurity matters. So it's always evolving. So yeah, we are doing that.
What's it? And friends of all AI.
So in tech labs, when we are building the firewall, considering what is going to come, the complexities and the AI and the nature of the frauds, our solution built up, bottom up, keeping AI in mind. Today, the deployments are going in multiple operators. Definitely we have seen great success. I mean, to the point that our team, even though they're experts in both AI as well as in telecom domain, it positively surprised ourselves that the effect and the product that the accuracy that it reached. we not only, many of the operators, they are hesitant to block these frauds or spams for various reasons. One of the reasons they don't want to take a call, or it could be they may not have the confidence that indeed what the call is a really fraud or not. So it's going to leave it to the operator. Like example, I see Airtel. It's a fantastic job, by the way, I've seen. At least it gives an option for me to look at it, whether it's a spam or not. But at the same time, may not have the confidence. It could be just like being the tier 1 operator, they don't want to take a risk. Or maybe the system that they don't have a confidence level yet where this is indeed the fraud, let me call. I don't know, only probably can tell, Vivek. But in fact, in our deployments, what we see is that customer is happily pushing for us to enable our AI model so that we block it. Even though we say that please wait for 3 months, because the AI is not just an AI, it can't just because you have AI ML, you cannot block it. It requires AI as a technology plus the domain expertise who would train appropriately to achieve certain goals. Customers are so excited, even if you say that 3 months, give us a period so that it analyzes the big data over a period of time, they're so happy with our solution that they're pushing for it even now. So it's our armor, the firewall. It's one of the, I would say, leading solutions in addressing the frauds. In fact, again, as I said, while it is a business for our CMOs, CFOs, and the CEOs, in technology house, we take that as a great responsibility as well.
So we got good news coming from both of AI side. But Vivek, your Airtel was mentioned.
Yeah.
Tell us what are you doing that protect consumers out there?
Yeah, so good to hear that Murthy mentioned about Airtel doing some kind of AI ML kind of work, and he raised a question in terms of the efficacy of it. Just to give you a perspective, Airtel was the industry first and known for doing first things right. What we did is we actually made AI possible to kind of detect spams on the network. So it is a proven concept which we have deployed in the market, where my consumers are being shown with a label that it could be a possible spam. And to give numbers into perspective, we process around 2.5 billion calls and 1.5 billion messages going over our network in just 2 milliseconds, which is like 1 trillion records in real time. And since the time we have launched this AI-enabled tool, we have kind of flagged 8 billion spam calls. And we are reporting every day about 1 million spammers, because spam is the core for leading to the fraud. Because all these guys, what do they do is, the fraudsters do, is first they spam the customers. And then they will make a cohort which has to be targeted on a financial fraud or different type of frauds. That's one on the consumer side, what Airtel is doing. On the B2B side or the enterprise side, we are enabling different techs, including the machine learning and artificial intelligence, to actually have the brand color display. Also, we are approaching the DPS format, which is detect, prevent, and suspend. There's always a DLT blockchain, which is there, deployed a couple of years back, which gives us a flexibility of once you detect and prevent, how do you suspend those bad actors or bad sender IDs so that you protect the fraud. So in summary, what I'm trying to say is Airtel has actually deployed AI, which is working brilliantly well, and the customers are giving us a right direction to move forward into new tech.
Twice we mentioned the role of TRAI, for the regulations, one of the most advanced regulations in the world, blockchain, DLT. Is it difficult to do? I mean, that's a last minute question, but for Dash and potentially for Uros, very, very briefly, is it difficult to comply with a specific Indies market coming from international with the different requirements that you have on protecting?
Yeah, so I think in India market, in that sense, it's very advanced on the sender ID registration and DLT. So with that, it is at least easy to identify some of the bad actors. If the ecosystem, if the telco plays it right with the aggregators, I think it's possible to find. I think we also have a huge SIM farm P2P transactions which are going through, which is left out from the whole DLT sender ID registration area, right, which is being also used by the bad actors. And there, I think the role of AI will be huge, because then you are able to also backtrace the SIM cards and where it is registered, etc. So it is possible if there is will, and I think regulator also needs to come up with, and there are few instances that we have seen in the last 2 years where the bad actors are actually punished with penalties, etc. in a heavy way in India. So I think that has to be publicized, and that has to be done more and more, so that this is not seen as a high EBITDA business for the fraudsters to say, okay, let's do fraud and get 80% EBITDA out of it. Yeah.
And Uros, if you compare from an international perspective, India versus other markets, is because of the advanced regulation, is it more difficult to be terminating here than other markets? The microphone we got shortly. There we go. Maybe. Well, you look, Vivek helping. Thank you.
Okay, this one is working. So, I mean, two main pain points speaking with enterprises are AIT combined with the price increase, so hit on the budgets, and second one is increased complexity of regulation around SMS. Because at the very start, SMS was plug and play.
Yep.
You have cheap rates, terminate everywhere in the world. India was far ahead of the market, introducing more stricter regulation, and at that time it was not a problem because it's only one market, although huge, but strict rules, way to follow them, and not a big problem. But now we have market after market after market coming with stricter and different unaligned regulation. Again, something that's not a core business for all of the enterprises, but it's a big pain for them in order to enable just reaching their customers. So I think the AI can play a big role there, more so maybe than in mitigating AIT. It might have some limited success there, but I think where true value lies is likely all countries at some moment are going to follow the more strict regulation on SMS, and solving that complexity for enterprises is the key where players like us can help bridge the gap between operators and enterprises in that sense.
And a quick reminder from MEF as well, we're working in a trusted messaging framework which would help potentially to streamline guidance a bit across countries, now that there are so many of them, or what that approach to sender ID could be.
I think I just want to add one perspective on the global side of the A2B messaging. Now, many countries are now defining the way to kind of the message is to be terminated into respective countries, which Uros was also saying. And it is becoming increasingly important that now you have to register a sender ID or register a brand. Some of the countries are very, very specific about it, and then the messages can't go. So directionally, we are moving into an area, and my colleague also said it's like a cat and mouse, so it's a virus and antivirus. So the fraudsters are using AI tools to spam the customers, while the stakeholders are also using AI tech. So you have to be one notch above always to kind of control the frauds on the network.
Whenever I'm in fight, it's a cycle. Unfortunately, whenever I'm in fight with my timer there, which doesn't give us too much to have. But let's see if we got questions. We do have questions. So rather than your closing remarks, we'll have a closing question instead. How's that?
Good afternoon. My name is Alpna Kaushal, and I'm working with China Mobile Middle East unit. Moreover, a question, I have a comment. We always look at the other side of MNO aggregator, but we always forget the most important part of it, which is like data privacy. How these scammers has all the access to our data. What I feel, this is the important aspect also to look into it and need to be worked with complete ecosystem. Because I'll give you a very recent example. Once you buy something, for example, a car, within few hours, all your data, your registration number, your plate, everything is with these scammers. And once you received an SMS, it looks so genuine and so real that sometimes even operator platform will not be able to detect that this is a real or scam message. So
Data and data protection. Who wants to pick that question?
Yeah,
Central.
I'll take it.
Vivek.
And a very valid question. I think this is again a problem statement for all of us. And we are fortunate enough that the government and regulatory bodies are also working around that, and the data privacy protection law is very soon coming up. And also, as a telco fraternity, what we are trying to do is the consent management acquisition from end users. So once that is in place, then this data privacy would not be that much of a challenge. So that we are trying to do as an industry fraternity to actually go into this. Yes, this is a serious challenge in terms of data privacy, because sometimes the SMS which goes, let's say if you bought a car and then there's a confirmation that this is what your next step and all that kind of stuff, they are going on to a plain text message, which is a SMS channel. And some of the information is captured by the stakeholders in the ecosystem and use that as a default kind of engagement to further sell, upsell kind of a product. So once this consent management acquisition will come in, this will actually go down and you will see more cleaner kind of communication from the enterprise.
And anybody wants to say some additional words? We're already running out of time. If not,
One question.
we have one more question. Okay. They will have a very small and short answer, but here we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, firstly. Wonderful panelist and a lot on fraud that you've spoken. A question to the panelist. For SMSs that are coming for fraud that comes in via the SMS protocol, we have multiple solutions that teams are building on AI or the firewall that is being protected. Is there something that the team today or the industry as such, as we're doing to control fraud that is coming in from the hyperscalers, the RCS bit? Is there something that we're thinking about, or is there something in place already that we're working for?
Hyperscalers and RCS.
I'll probably give my thoughts on that. The frauds originating from the SMS. Right now, the way the technology is around the SMS, since the day one, like when mobile switches started, unfortunately, it has not evolved the way enterprise applications evolved. For take an example of in telecom, radio access network. You have 1G, 2G, 3G, 5G, 6G, which you're talking about 100 Gbps, right? Similar way, for whatever the reasons, on the switch side or SMS side, not a significant change, keeping these things in mind. They were built to deliver a message, not built to, stop the frauds, right? Many times I was talking about in the same thing, can India has all the muscle power to go and push all these SMS and switch makers? I need a change because I have a big, population here, and as a country, I want a change in the switching protocol and the switches. As simple as this, look at a Google and Microsoft, the moment you have an email delivered, you have an option, crowdsourcing, to point out whether it's a fraud or not. Do we have it in the voice? Do we have it in the SMS? No way. The moment I receive, I know that in the SMS, it is a fraud. I have no mechanism to give as a feedback. No way. The moment I get a call and then close it, and then right after that, I have no mechanism to give a feedback to the switch saying that there's a fraud. So especially with the frauds in the SMS, There is a technological barrier. For some reason, I don't know why the operators of the countries are not pushing, saying that we need to get into the next generation where it is not the connectivity is the primary purpose. Can we build these protocols and the switches to support the frauds? I don't think that is happening right now. That could be one of the reasons, very difficult for us. That is where the vast companies like ours taking advantage of sniffing it, understanding it, and blocking it as a value-added services.
Murthy, just to add, there is mechanism, there are shortcodes, there are websites where you can upload those numbers, but
That
maybe
is
the
not user-friendly.
user
That's
friendly,
exactly.
and most people don't even know where to go,
Exactly.
right? While you experience that.
And I've learned 1909, is that correct? 1903, there, I stand corrected. So we'll learn in case if you were so kind to share it in here. But would you be so kind to share a big applause for our panelists here? Thank you very much.